Ergira, UNLV Rebel Report. Dwight, despite the loss to the U.S. and draw with Haiti, there's still a path to the next round. So if you beat Saudi Arabia, what's the message right now to the group of guys just kind of ahead of this crucial match?
I think it's simple. I think it's the fact that you just noted that despite the defeat against America and certainly the point against Haiti, we're still in with a chance to qualify. And we know there's two scenarios. Trinidad and Tobago win, providing result go our way against America and Haiti, then we advance. And Saudi can look at it from a different angle or slightly different angle. A point might be enough for them to go through. Of course, a victory for them will obviously then make them go through automatically. So there's a lot of permutation within all of that. But at the end of the day, we know exactly what is required, which is obviously 3 points in the game.
And what's the biggest adjustment you'd like to see from your group ahead of this crucial match to ensure the best result possible? And Marvin, what do you think is going to be the key tactically to ensure that result?
I like us to play a little bit more on the front foot. I think we get off to pretty much slow starts. We have always said to the players that we are a reactive team rather than a proactive team. So we need to be better at that. Certainly at the beginning of the game, we seem to end relatively well. So we need to sort of turn that around in many respects. We need to start well from the beginning. And I think if we have a little bit more self-belief, a little bit more self-confidence, play football that the way I know this team can play and the ability that we have within the team is just to have a little bit more courage and to trust each other, I will say.
I think going out there tomorrow to get a result, we got to play for 90 plus minutes together. We got to start from the first minute, the game. We can't win the game just in the first minute, and we need to play collectively as a team. We need to go out there and show our strengths. Times with that game we may not control it, so we need to see all those periods. And when we have our periods, we need to capitalize on those.
Dwight, obviously you've played on some of the biggest stages. You're no stranger to that, and you've been familiar with the pressure that comes with it. So, what is your message for the locker room message to keep the mentality strong in a game like this, in a crucial match like this?
Yeah, well, it's been a real eye opener for us. We've been on the road for the past 3 and a bit weeks, so living in hotels, traveling, it does take its toll. Of course, results not gone particular our way. But despite all of that, the morality within the team and the spirit within the team is relatively high. And as you said, if anyone said to us that we have an outside chance when this group was first obviously drawn, going into the last game, if one said that we were going to have a chance to get to the quarterfinal stage, I think that's so much of a plus and everything to play for.
So one more from me, obviously. With your experience you have in world football, you played under one of the most iconic managers, Sir Alex Ferguson. Would you say that there's anything in your coaching style that directly reflects your time under him and maybe something you've learned from him?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to take from the old boss. He's a prolific winner, a serial winner, as we say in the UK. It's all about winning, right? And you got to find a way to win. And I think that's what I will take. And also the thing that he had always noted to me coming into this, to being a manager, trust your instinct. I play the game. I understand it. I've been in many of dressing rooms. I've been an ex-player myself. I've got to trust my instinct a little bit more.
And on that topic, what do you think the current Manchester United side has to do to go back to its glory days out of this new season?
Well, I think that's been well documented. I don't need to add too much fire to the fuel, as they say, or fuel to the fire, sorry. The reality is, we're not in a good place. It's been a real dire season, and the previous season, we know where we are as a football club. We're nowhere near where we should be. There's a lot of work to be done. Coming off such a disastrous season, I'm sure they're keen to put it right. So hopefully that the manager will get some backing and certainly some slightly better players, in my opinion.
We have further questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Dwight, hello, Adam Leventhal from The Athletic. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your opponents and some of the sort of the broader issues around Saudi Arabia. First of all, from your point of view, your first game, correct me if I'm wrong, was against Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So I guess having played out in Riyadh, I just wanted to get your take on what it's like playing out there and the hospitality that you received.
Yeah, well, first to begin, I live in the Middle East, so I'm very familiar. I've been living in Dubai for the last 6 years. So, I understand the Arabic world. I've been to Saudi on multiple times, and every time I've been there, it's been great. Obviously, the welcome in there has been undoubtedly unbelievable. I have nothing but praise Saudi culture. I'm sure that in my time, I've seen vast improvement of the country, and they continue to make inroads. We know what they try to contribute to sports as a global supporter of sport, and I'm just very lucky that I've been having the opportunity to visit that country a few times.
And the presence now is very sort of overt. Even behind you, you've got PIF, Aramco. Welcome to Saudi. In terms of some of the people that might not be as happy with their presence, what's your take on that aspect of it?
Well, listen, we are we are football based. We are only here to really talk about football. We don't get into the politics side of it. And what I do know, and I can only talk from my experience of being in Saudi, the experience I've had there over the years has always been great. So don't really want to elaborate too much on it. I understand the PIF, the PIF is contributing to sport. They're supporters of this tournament in particular. I've watched from the outside of many developments over the years of living in the Middle East myself. So my experience is totally different to many other people's who may have got their opinion in it. But my opinion is that ever since I've been going there, it's always been good to me.
And from a footballing perspective, you would have seen, not the pressure, but the interest in how Qatar and how their team was going to pitch up at the 2022 World Cup. In terms of Saudi Arabia, do you see that as a different proposition in terms of having a very competitive team in 2034 when they're going to be hosting the World Cup? Is it a different level, different sort of proposition? Well,
listen, I worked in that Asia Cup as one of the analysts behind the scene alongside the likes of Arsene Wenger, Steve McLaren, and Klinsmann as a technical sort of analyst behind the scene. So being in Qatar was an eye-opener. I've been to Qatar, as I said, multiple times myself, working for BN Sport over there. So I understand the culture and I understand the expectation of football in that part of the world. There is so many people love our sport and continue to support it in many respects. I think what Saudi are trying to do or what they have done to this point, and as you can see, there is no limitation in terms of where they're trying to get to. And obviously being the host in 2034, they have a plain objective of wanting to be one of the best. They have literally just under 10 years to be one of the most competitive league. You've seen so many players in the past from Premier Leagues and all over the rest of the footballing world that are continue to go there and boost their league. Is it a good thing? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people may have their opinion on it. I don't see any problem with it. As a matter of fact, the fact that players who are coming towards the end of their career, they have to look after their welfare, and I support that in many respects. I support in terms of what Saudi are doing. As I said, my experience, I can only go on my experience being there, and it's nothing but credit to what they have done.
Do you have further questions here for either Coach Yorke or Marvin?
Yes, please. Khalda Sharif, 41 Magazine. I wanted to ask a question firstly to Coach Yorke. How's your Arabic since you've been living in the Middle East for a while now?
Salam alaikum, my brother.
Alaikum assalam. And I wanted to ask you guys, considering the scores for the first two games, going to the third game, what are some of the takeaways from this tournament and from both of you, please?
Marvin, you want to answer the first one?
Going back to the first game, was very horrific, was very disappointing, we needed to dust ourselves, pick up ourselves quickly and dust ourselves going into the second game. We didn't get a result in the second game that we wanted, but we still have a chance, So the mood in the camp is very positive, we know what we have to do as a team out in the park tomorrow. So hopefully we can go there and get that result.
Yeah, I think that there's no question that the game against America was a bit disappointed from our end. We didn't really get a foothold into the game. America take control of it. But we're also aware that the step up from where we are as a team and continue to grow was always going to be a tall order. but it gives us some indication of the work that is ahead and how we can close the gap. The Haiti game was a game that we felt that we could possibly get 3 points. And again, didn't go to plan, particular first half, but credit, in my opinion, to Haiti, the way they played and take control of the game and take it away from us. But once the advantage had swung in our way, we felt even conceding earlier on in the second half, my players showing a lot of character and willingness to get back into the game. Yes, there was some decision went a little bit our way in occasion, especially the penalty towards the end. We could have easily have lost the game and we won't be having this conversation of being in the competition. However, in football, you need a little bit of luck. It gives us a little bit impetus going in, a little bit more encouragement in terms of, there's still that possibility of really qualifying. So there's a lot on this game, despite the negative behind the other two games. And you got to move on quickly because that's what tournament brings. It's been a relatively quick turnaround for us in terms of, 2 days prior to the game, so that plus travel in between. So you need to dust yourself down, as Marvin said earlier on, and focus on the tasks ahead. And our task right now is to make sure that we prepare well and possibly give our chance to try and get 3 points tomorrow.
You spoke about control a lot. How important is control of a game to your squad, and how do you think you should do that against Saudi?
I think it's more about game management is something that I've briefed and tried to encourage the players over 90 plus minutes. You got to see those moments out. There are times when you're going to be pushed back on your back foot or back up against the wall, as we say. You have to be resilient. You got to be tough to beat. You got to dig deep. And then over those period of times, you're going to have your moments as well. And it's about how you sort of executed your time as when you're in control of the game. But certainly over 90 minutes, you need to manage the game. I think that's something that I'm trying to bring into the culture of our football. And the players are getting it. We're not quite there yet, but there's some work to be done. But that's all part and parcel of the development, certainly. And this is another opportunity for us to try and implement all these stuff that I'm trying to build a new culture in Trinidad and Tobago football.
And then talking about the work that needs to be done and zooming out a bit, win or loss, make it to the next stage or not, how much of a stepping stone, how much can you grow as a team from this experience with the Gold Cup?
Well, we have been growing, and these players, some of them haven't been in these tournaments. As I said, we've been on the road for the past 3+ weeks. And so living in a hotel, traveling, the demands and the high expectation of representing Trinidad, and certainly my expectation of these players, probably, and with the training demands, some of them are not used to this kind of format. So it is a learning experience. We are still building, we are still growing. And this certainly playing, this type of competition against America, Haiti, of course, and Saudi Arabia. If we were to not be in this competition, the games that we would have probably tried to get would have not been of this magnitude. So there's a lot there of positive that are coming out of these games, and the players understand that, despite the result having gone great for us. But also we have the bigger picture in mind in terms of trying to get to the World Cup as well. So all of that, you put it together, it's a great experience for these players, and hopefully they will come out in a better place.
Okay. We just shift to the virtual forum now. Ronnie Walcott, go ahead with your question. Walcott, go ahead. Ronnie, are you there?
Hi, yes, coach. And Marvin, thanks. Hi, coach. Of course, Soca Warriors played Saudi Arabia last December. I'm guessing it will be a different group of players for your team. But what do you think your staff, and your players learned from that game, and what can you take into the game tomorrow, please, go to try and get the 3 points that we need?
I'm not sure we learned a great deal, because the circumstances was literally 24 hours when we arrived. We played that game. And again, if you look throughout the squad that since visit Saudi Arabia back then to where we are now is a total different light. However, it still gives us an insight on how Saudi plays. The manager is obviously has been there before and obviously had the opportunity to reconnect with these players. So a well-experienced team, a team that is, obviously have a very high level of competition in their league back in Saudi. So we expect them. We have already studied them and do our due diligence in terms of what Saudi brings and the way they play. So we have to be at it. But certainly, I don't think it will make much difference to the experience that we have gained playing in Saudi to this competition. And certainly, when you look at it overall, what is at stake? That was a friendly. This is about trying to advance to the quarterfinal in the game tomorrow.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching Extra Time TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe.